Hello. hello, Taurus. This is Adrian Obi, Capricorntigress of Astrology. Look inside, coming to you with your astrological review for the month of March 2019. And I do apologize. You were chosen as one of the last. Taurus and Gemini were among the last readings this month, and for some reason, I look disheveled. I'm like, what's going on? What is this? What's happening here? I just looked normal right before I started, and now I feel like I'm feeling a little disheveled. I do have a Taurus moon myself, at least in Western astrology. So I'm wondering if that might have something to do with something. Just wondering. I just feel like that could possibly have something to do with something. I don't know. So let's talk a little bit about your chart and what's going to be affecting you guys in the month of March. Well, I mean, the big thing for you, Taurus, is that Mars and Uranus is going to be in Taurus, and it is going in. Actually, Mars is in Taurus already, but Uranus is going to be going into Taurus as of the 6th of March, and that's going to make a big difference. I mean, because Uranus is going to be in March for 7 years. It's going to go in on the 6th of March, and it's going to stay there until the 7th of July. That's quite some time. Or excuse me, it's the 7th of July of 2025. Yeah, I thought I should make sure you understood. Yeah, 2025. So it's going to be in Taurus for a while. And actually, it actually goes into July 7th, 2025. It goes out because it starts to go into Gemini, then it retrogrades back, and then it goes back in finally in Taurus, November 7th, 2025 through April 7th of 2026. And there should be a general feeling of enjoyment, or at least your pursuit of enjoyment in life. Now, whether or not you actually achieve enjoyment, I'm not sure, but you might. But that's normally what this would represent. And also just stuff. Like you might find that you may, there's two ways it's going to come about. You might find that you begin to build up and accumulate stuff, or it may be that you find that you're ridding yourself of stuff, like you're doing things differently. So if you're someone who had a lot of things and stuff, you might find that you start paring down on the stuff and becoming a little bit more lighter, easy to travel. If you're someone who had very little, you might find that you suddenly are beginning to accumulate. And this is really going to be felt, I think, once Mars goes from Taurus into Gemini, which it is going to do at the end of the month of March on the 31st. But for the month of March, you're really going to be feeling that Mars in the first house. And, that might make you a little aggressive. You might be a little angry with Uranus and Mars in the first house. And it just could come out of the blue, or suddenly you might feel a certain burst of anger or frustration. What I do want you to be careful of is accidents, because Mars and Uranus in the first house, well, that's you. That's your body. That's your physical self. That's you. And so it's important to be cautious with your body and watch out for accidents, and be careful of going too fast and doing things that are maybe a little out of the blue or erratic, or could harm you. So if you take care of yourself, you don't do things a little bit, too much different or too daredevil, then you should be okay. Now, another issue that is occurring that you guys may feel is that Chiron is moving from the sign of Pisces into the sign of Aries. And that's in that 12th house. And the 12th house is, well, I always call it the house of self-undoing. It's where you might find that you're working on issues, like if you drank too much, or if you smoked too much, or if you did other things like took too many pills. If you've been working on something that might need rehab, right? Now's a good time to heal it. So if you know that, this could include gambling addiction, sexual addiction, alcohol addiction, porn addiction, drug addiction, pill addiction, all of that. Chiron's in the 12th house. Heal it. Good time to heal it. One of the other big things going on for you guys, you still have, you have Mercury that's going to be sitting in the 11th house with Neptune. And that's kind of cool. You're going to be thinking and getting intuition at the same time. I mean, that's great. So your mind will be, hopefully you'll be able to pick up on some ways of communicating with people, with friends, and with groups of people in ways that you might not have been able to communicate with them before. You might feel a little jaded with friends or with groups or with places like Twitter or Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. It might not hold the same appeal to you, or you might find suddenly that you're just, posting away because it's Mercury there. You want to stay interested in stuff like that. So I can see you having a lot of activity there. Another big thing going on for Taurus during the month, and this is probably the biggest thing, is that Venus is in the 10th house of Aquarius. And Venus is your ruling sign, and it's in the 10th house. It's amazing. So you might feel that your career is going a little better. Like things are smoothing out, I think, hopefully. Now, and it might get, like I said, you've got Mars and Uranus coming in the first house. So your personality might seem a little weird, but I think your career might start smoothing out a little bit. And maybe your reputation might get smoothed out a little bit. It's not going to feel as uncomfortable, maybe, as it did before. And that's a good thing. Another good thing is that the North Node is still in the 3rd house of communication. And that's in the sign of Cancer, which is very nurturing, very giving. And I think since it's basically in a sextile to some Taurus, it may make communication a lot easier. So if there's something that you've been wanting to say and you haven't been able to say it, or something you might want to write or communicate in some way, I would use March as the month to do that. It's a great month to communicate. Let it out, whatever it is. Also, opposing that North Node in Cancer is the sign of Pluto and Saturn in the 9th house of travel and education and like philosophy and your dogma about life and even religion. But you might be getting like a new consciousness, just a new awakening now, because you're building a new structure. I mean, it's Saturn, okay? So you're restructuring your dogma. You're restructuring your mindset, the way you think about life, really. It's changing for the better. It's a good thing. It's actually a good thing. And one of the other things that I see, and it's been really affecting you a little bit for probably a few months now, is that you still have Jupiter in the 8th house. And that's luck with the pretty heavy things in life, like sex, death, money, taxes, right? The deep psychological things that hurt. But you've been lucky with that. So maybe in the month of March, it could be a month where, especially with Venus in in Aquarius, that sometime during the month of March, you may really be able to heal some things, be able to talk things out, deep things that are maybe buried deep inside that you have not been able to communicate up until now. But with Jupiter in the 8th and Chiron in the 12th and Venus in the 10th, wow, if there, and the North Node in the 3rd, if there is something you need to communicate and you've just been too afraid to do it, well, with Mars and Uranus in the 1st house, you should be courageous. You should have I have a feeling you'll be courageous enough to say and do and be the person who you really want to be, because that's what Mars in the 1st house is begging you to do, is to be assertive, to be yourself, to speak your truth. The North Node in the 3rd house is telling you to speak, to communicate, to let it out. Don't hold that in anymore. I think you've probably been holding it in and holding it in and holding it in. And I'm so afraid that when Mars and Uranus, collide in the 1st house, it's going to be like an explosion, because Uranus can rule explosions and Mars can rule explosions. But it's in your 1st house of your personality. So let it out. Let it out. Let it out. It's a great month to just be free and communicate. And I would do everything in a very positive way, because Jupiter's in the 8th house. So it's, and Cancer's in the 3rd house. So it's asking you to communicate in a positive, uplifting, caring, nurturing way, kind. So in your speech, be kind when you speak. And you'll be surprised, hopefully, by how you can heal. You may be able to heal with Chiron in that 12th house, some things that have been deeply buried, deeply hidden, painful things that you thought you weren't going to be able to heal. But you might be able to do that, okay? So this is really it. Now, there is a couple of things I can go over with you guys. As I mentioned, Uranus goes into Taurus on the 6th, and that's really going to affect your money. You guys, I think you're coming into money. I see money, what you own. Yeah, you might want to use caution with investments. But oh yeah, money, essential pleasures, a change in your fortune. Oh, and one of the other things I didn't talk about, and how could I even miss it? On the 6th of March, there's going to be a new moon in Pisces in your 10th house. Well, actually, it's your 11th house, okay, because Pisces is your 11th, but that's awesome. You're going to have Venus in the 10th. You're going to have the sun and the moon and Mercury and Neptune in the 11th house. That's your hopes, your dreams, your wishes. That's whatever you've been hoping for. I just have hope and have faith that, in fact, faith is a great word for the 6th of March. So have faith in yourself, have faith in your dreams, have faith in what you want, and in your aspirations. Have faith in that. And on the 20th, there's going to be a full moon, and that is actually going to be occurring in Libra. And Libra falls, well, in your 6th house of work. So there could be some emotional something going on at work. Just just saying. It's Libra. I mean, I don't know if you guys have like a romance budding at work. I can actually see that. I'm just saying. But it's Libra and it's the sixth house, and the moon is going to be there. But opposing that sixth house in Libra, at the time of the full moon, there's going to be the sun in Aries on the opposite side of the chart, which is your 12th house. So I would think that this is going to be like a play between your emotions and maybe your pride, maybe, because we're talking about the sun in Aries. And it's in a fate degree. This is all happening at 0.9 minutes of Libra and Aries. Even though we're talking about the 6th house and 12th house, we're still dealing with partnership issues because it's Libra and Aries. So, you know, if you've got a love at work or something like that, it might blow up that day. So be aware of that. On the 26th of March, Venus goes into Pisces. So that's going to be more emphasis on that 11th house. Hopes, dreams, wishes, desires of all kinds. Getting along with other people, making new friends with groups and associates. That's what this is all about. And it's going to be pleasant with Venus. It's, yeah, definitely a very pleasant experience. On the 28th of March, Mercury does go direct because it does. And that's another thing I forgot to tell you. Mercury's going to be retrograde in that 11th house most of the month. It goes retrograde on the 5th at 29 degrees, and it goes direct on the 28th, I believe, right? Yeah, at 16 degrees. So that's just about most of the month. And then finally, as I think I mentioned it earlier, Mars goes into Gemini on the 31st, and that's Mars in your second house of money. I would say that April is going to be a month of money for you guys. So that should give you something to look forward to. Okay, well, that's been my reading for you guys for the month of March. I hope some of that resonated with you, and I hope some of that happens for you, especially the money coming up at the end of the month and your assertiveness with Mars in the first house and your pleasant career activities with Venus in the 10th house for most of the month. Okay, well, this has been Capricorntigress, Adrienne Obi of Astrology, A Look Inside, and you can catch me here on YouTube. Please share and like and subscribe to our videos here on YouTube, and you can find me also on Facebook at facebook.com/Astrology, A Look Inside, and we also have a group on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Astrology, A Look Inside, and finally, you can find me on, well, astrologylookinside.com. But finally, I have Patreon now. So you can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/Capricorntigress. Well, much love and light to you all. And, well, happy St. Patty's Day to you. That's the month of March. And I'll see you again in April. Have a good one. Bye now.